This is Brent, and he is in Washington. What's going on, Brent?
Hey, guys. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Brent. What's going on, man?
I'm just headed to work.
A night shift, huh?
Oh, yeah. Rotating shift work, you know.
I hear you.
Strip club?
I was just... What was that?
Strip club?
Oh, no. Energy trader.
The what? Energy creator?
Trader.
What does that mean?
I buy and sell power for our power company.
Oh, so are you like when I get those things in the mail, people asking me to switch to their form of power? Are you those guys?
No, I'm the one that buys and sells power to make sure the light stays on.
Oh, all right. Can you get me a deal on my electric bill?
He's got 3 houses. Help him out.
Country. You know, what's funny is I had gotten in my car and that lady was on talking about Spread Eagle, and that is a band name I have not heard in over almost 30 years.
That's my point exactly. Point made.
I saw them. They opened up for Vane in Portland, Oregon, back when I was in high school.
Vane, another great band. That's another one we could go and put in that category. Phenomenal band. I love Vane. I love No Respect. But they play, where do they play? A couple times a year. Monsters of Rock Cruise. We've seen them.
Yep.
Great band.
Excellent.
But again, that's where you're going to get stuff like that, unfortunately. They can't tour.
And see, the thing about it is a lot of these bands, these are bands, as a high school, I'd go see every band I possibly, could go see, and they were all these bands playing clubs, and these are bands back in the day, they were one-hit wonders, like one of my favorites, Dangerous Toys, another...
Jason McMaster, Teasing and Pleasing.
Still active. Still
out there. Same thing.
Love Dangerous Toys. Kicks was great.
Kicks, Kick-Axe, really, Kick Tracy... Anything with Kicks.
Axe. Rock and roll party in the streets.
In the clubs, I'd see these bands, and I remember going to see L.A. Guns. Was phenomenal. Actually,
they're still around. There's 2 of those for your choosing.
Oh yes, yeah.
One with the 2. Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. But what really got me thinking is a few years ago, I went and saw a couple acts, and I was almost shocked when I got there to see how many people were only there to see them. The first one I saw, there was maybe 200 people, and it was for Yngwie Malmsteen. And I'm just thinking, if people just, weren't really into the music, but to go see a guitar god, I think for $30 to go see Yngwie Malmsteen, that's nothing, That was pretty disappointing to see that. But what was even more disappointing is a couple weeks later, I went and saw a show. It was at a club, and there was less than 100 people there. And it was for George Lynch and the Lynch Mob. And I was crushed that nobody came out to see George Lynch. I mean, probably one of the greatest guitarists ever.
Well, Brent, the thing is, and your phone's kind of crapping out a little bit, but thank you for your call. Maybe you need more energy to your phone.
Yeah, maybe you could sell the Lynch Mob audience some energy and some power.
Brent, thank you for your call, seriously. And Brent's making my case. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's what these bands draw, folks. That is the real draw of these bands. I know promoters all over the country. I know what the draw is. I know what the value is. I'm not saying whether they're good or bad. I'm just telling you that is exactly. Everyone is simply making my point here. That if this guy's telling me Lynch Mob drew 100 people and it's George Lynch, if you're 10 rungs below that in terms of popularity, what are you drawing? 6 people, and the problem is also, everyone is on tour. Everyone is out there working it. People in more than one band at the same time. And the fan base for artists from the 80s is generally between 45 and 55 years old, most of them are not going out during the week. They've got real gigs. They've got jobs. They're up. They got kids. They're not doing it.
Yeah. You said you were sort of at the forefront of the whole thing. Because if you put, let's say you put George and Don back together and you call it Dokken with that logo, now you're automatically quadrupling or whatever the math is in terms of now you have a draw, right? But really, what's the difference at the end of the day? But you mentioned it when we started doing that metal show, and I really wasn't on board at the beginning, but you were sort of the Nostradamus of branding, and it really is. That logo makes a big difference. If George Lynch has the Dokken logo next to his name, he draws. If it's just George Lynch, not as much, which is sad because I've seen Lynch Mob countless times and they put on an unbelievable show.
Well, they are. I mean, the thing is that now in that deal, talking about that particular situation, I don't think people know who is or isn't in Dokken anymore.
Right.
Because there's been shows where George was scheduled, George is not involved, John Levin is there, Mick Brown is in, Mick Brown is not. Right now, I mean, you just don't know who's in what anymore, which also doesn't help. I'm hearing there's going to be a joint Lynch Mob Dokken tour that's going to be pitched soon. Like they're going to put out there where Lynch will play with his band, Don will play with his version of the band, and then maybe at the end George does some songs with Dokken. It's the Wild West, folks. Everyone is trying to figure out how to maximize their dollars and their draw, whether it's at the club, theater, arena, stadium level. Bands that you don't think are active anymore are going to become active again. Bands that did farewells, watch. They're all coming back. Every single one of them has or will watch. Let's say hello to Mickey, who's in Colorado. What's going on, Mick?
How you doing, Eddie?
Hey, Mickey, go ahead, man. You're on the air.
So what do you think of these new bands like Greta Van Fleet, Dirty Honey? I'm really into metal. I loved your show, and then I miss it so much. I'm just into the new metal. What do you think about
Well,
that?
first of all, I don't think any of those three bands you just mentioned I would classify as metal. I think that they're hard rock bands, first of all. There's a huge difference. But
You think so?
yeah, of course. Dirty Honey is a bluesy hard rock band. Greta Van Fleet is a bluesy hard rock band. Ghost is a metal band in appearance, but sound-wise is a borderline pop band at times. So I don't.
Yeah, I'm not so into Ghost, but I really like the bluesy Led Zeppelin from Greta Van Fleet, and you know what I'm saying.
Well, Mickey, I mean, I haven't seen Greta Van Fleet live. They're clearly extremely popular. The knock on Greta Van Fleet, obviously, is their way to Led Zeppelin, but that has not hurt them, clearly, because they've gotten a big audience. I am extremely encouraged, Mickey, about the next wave of rock bands and the new coming rock bands. Thank you for your call. If you listen to me every day on Volume, I've had many of them on. I've had Joyous Wolf on. I've had Greta Van Fleet on. I've had Rival Sons on. I've had the Struts on. I've had Tobias from Ghost on. It goes on and on and on. So I am super supportive of it, and I love much of it. I'm rooting for even the stuff that I don't love so much because I think it's good for rock. I just don't know, and I hope that a couple of them can really break through in a big way. I think by far the biggest would be Ghost and Greta in terms of just numbers right now. But the Struts are real close, even though they're more of a pop thing, that more pop merged with hard rock. But the Struts are doing incredibly well. And Rival Sons, who I love to death, really growing, coming off of a co-headline with Stone Temple Pilots. And that's still my album of the year, the new Rival Sons record. So I'm encouraged about it. Don, you like some of the newer stuff coming down the pike?
I feel the same way you do, man. I think Greta Van Fleet opened up a giant lane, and everybody's flooding into it, and that's such a good thing for rock. All the bands that you just mentioned, plus Them Evils is a band that I love. Of course, Crowbot is in that mix as well.
I got the new Crowbot. I didn't listen to it, but I love the last record.
Oh, this was actually way better.
I got it sitting right on my desk on CD. I want to listen to that.
It's really good, man. And just that they open that lane is so friggin' important.
I agree.
And you're right. They're more of a bluesy. Those people are more bluesy hard rock, a little more the '70s sound. But then you have the alternative metal bands like Fever 333 and Code Orange. Then you have the young thrashers like Power Trip and Archer Nation and bands like that. So it's not just, sort of the 70s sounding bands. All genres of metal are flooding into that lane. That's such a cool thing, man. That's why you have to bring back that metal show now.
I just saw a Power Trip, and I'll see them again.
They're great.
On November 10th, Foamhenge in Houston that I'm hosting. They were great. Super young guys playing old school thrash, right down to the way they looked.
Yeah.
I saw them at Exit 111. Really good. Bishop Gunn, another one I like. Band out of Atlanta called Like Machines have made a couple songs I like a lot. Every day I'm being turned on to a new band that I like a lot of them. I really do. This is like, for me, in the last 20 years, the best wave we've had for what I personally am into. Don's tastes tend to be in the more extreme area as well, which I don't really like so much. But as far as the straight up hard rock world, there's more great music out there than ever. Problem is people finding it, because the market is so flooded. Anyone can make records. Finding it, supporting it, having it stand out, having it be able to get a following. I mean, but I couldn't agree with you more, and I've said this so many times. Whether you like them or not, every one of these bands has to give a tip of the hat to Greta, because Greta Van Fleet opened that floodgate.
100%. They not only got, people coming to the shows, they actually got the critics on their side for the most part. There's a few people in the press that slammed them, but for the most part, they got the critics on their side. And guess what? Girls are going to the shows again. Imagine that.
Yeah, it's gotten guitar-driven rock back in the forefront. It's gotten the record companies looking at it again. It's gotten the record companies signing it again. And it's just a question of, I question whether people give a shit enough about music in general for one of these bands to break through like Appetite did or something like that. And I just mean that because everyone is in such a different world these days, so many different diversions, every movie, every song on the tip of your finger on the phone. Do people have the same relationship with music enough for one of these guys to really break through and go to big levels? I hope they do, but I don't know.
It's just a different time, so there won't probably never be a band in rock music anyway that'll pull a Guns N' Roses where they just take the world by storm. But if you can get this lane flooded with all these bands, that's a good thing too. I'd rather have 25 new great young bands than just one superstar band, and then there's then it fizzles out after that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, we got to wrap it up. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your call. It was good having Don here with me for a little bit.
Thanks, man.
Mixing it up a little, and appreciate all you guys calling in as always.